Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Curious Mindset, powered by technology provider 64Tech. I'm Bandish, and here we dive into the less explored areas of technology leadership, creating a unique space for discussions that you won't find anywhere else. In our experience, we've found that the real challenges are in the human aspects of technology leadership. We lead a community that focuses on your growth as leaders by inviting in experts with practical experience. We consciously avoid intrusive sales methods and instead favor meaningful conversations. Slack is where our members and experts can interact between sessions and join our free book club because no one leads alone. The links will be in the chat during the session. Do bring along others from your technology leadership circles. Here we value respectful engagement, and we will be thrilled to see your thoughts and experiences shared in a Google review, book post, or a LinkedIn recommendation. Currently, we're in our Speak Up Culture Quarter, and today we're excited to welcome back special guest Floyd Woodrow. As we delve deeper into this theme, we invite you to actively participate and share your insights during today's session. And to guide us through this conversation, please join me in a warm welcome to our host, sports psychology coach Simon Hartley, and IT co-host Steve Maxwell.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today's session very much follows on with from the theme that we've been building during the last few sessions. And if you remember back to last session, we were talking about how we tell stories in order to engage people. And it was inspired by a question that Kevin put into the Slack channel about how we engage really senior leaders, the C-suite. So to build on that, we're going to look at negotiation skills today. Please welcome my very good friend, Floyd Woodrow.
Thank you, Simon. Great to see everybody again. I'm excited to talk to you about this subject because it is a subject I absolutely love, and I work in tech as well. So I want to talk through some of those links between what I see, and I've just been doing some negotiation with a group on developing a well-being platform, and some of the mistakes that they made in negotiating with me.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to look at this through the lens of business today, but actually the skills that we're going to talk about are human-to-human skills, aren't they?
This is the most important thing, is when you learn to negotiate, to communicate, and to storytell, it actually impacts every area of your life, because there's not one area where you're not doing it, whether that's with your children, your family, whether you're doing it with your friends, but it's about the ability to influence and to connect and to lead without authority. Highest level of leadership is to lead without authority. These elements allow you to navigate, communicate, and most importantly, adapt your communication style. One style of communicating does not fit all. So how do you do that?
So where do you start when you know that you're going to have to negotiate? And we'll put this through a business lens to start with. I think that'll probably make sense to most people. Where do you start the process?
The negotiation for me is starting. It's way before I'm going into the negotiation. I've come back. I mean, sometimes the good thing about this, and this is what's important, is about how I can be consistently good under pressure. If I had to negotiate now, I've got a system that it will take me 2 seconds to refresh in my brain, and then I will follow the system. To be good, it's always about following some processes that you know are effective. You adapt them to different styles, different environments. I'm always about prep beforehand, and the first thing I look at, and I'll come back to the compass, is what is my super North Star? Some of you will have heard me use this term before. North pointer on a compass, it points north. I always want to know, what am I trying to do at this meeting? And really important here, because I may not be trying to close the deal at the first meeting. So if we're negotiating, I can probably say from the start, unless I know this group, that is as far removed from what I'm trying to do as I can possibly get to. The first one is my initial contact, my opening lines and first impressions, and then gaining rapport. Until I'm comfortable in those spaces and that's been nailed, I'm not thinking of closing a deal, because it's not going to work. You've got to be able to listen, communicate, understand, and then we can move forward. Because my ultimate super North Star is obviously to get a deal closed, to be effective, to move forward. That's where I'm aiming. This is part of my strategy for getting there.
Yeah. So as well as knowing ultimately what we want, we've also got to know the stages that we need to go through, and sort of map out that journey so that we're going in the right direction.
Without a doubt. So the steps that we're now going to take, And there are some sets I'm going to show you in a moment, Simon. I'm going to go through some things that I want to provoke thought with and then come back to how I would deliver this. I think that's going to be probably quite important because I want to give you the tools. The first one, without doubt, is being super clear on that super North Star. The other key thing then comes back to is your own self-awareness of your style, your approach, your ability to communicate, and the kind of things that you need to just take into consideration. And then I'm doing research on the people I'm meeting. I want to know what their super North Star is. I want to know what their values are. I want to know where are they going, and more importantly, what are the key elements of their desire to be the best in their field or whatever it is. I need to know about this group because I want to know what makes them tick, because I want to be able to give them something that's going to be part of this equation that I know I can do really quickly. I'm going to make sure I help you on your journey before I'm thinking about making sure this is for me. I want to, how can I do that? So I'm just understanding that. Doesn't mean I'm not coming in a way of just totally concentrating on my things, but understanding the person that needs to help me, the people that need to help me, the team, really get an understanding of where they are, because that's vital in long-term relationship. If this is quick and I don't really care, different, but generally I do. I want long-term stuff.
Yeah. And when you think about this, because you look at this from a number of different angles. I know your own life experience kind of gives you a number of different angles. One of those lenses you look at this through is you have a role as a CEO. So if you use that perspective when you're talking to IT people, what is it that you need as the audience?
Right. First of all, this is a really good one because I've just been through this with the group that came in. I want to build a platform, a specific platform for health and well-being. I've got a massive super North Star. And the problem with the team when they came in, they were not listening to what I was saying. So they had no idea that this is a massive passion of mine. All they had to do with engaging it, what they were telling me was what they wanted to do. And their viewpoint, so my viewpoint was I want to help the world and change the world. Their viewpoint was they want to help their shareholders and what they're doing. There is no way this is going to be a frequency where we're going to align, and not their their ethos, what they're trying to do, does not align. And actually, they've got some good things that are probably okay, but I'm already off track now. The minute you don't connect with me, this is never going to work, because rapport, understanding, and more importantly, if they just listen to what I was saying. And of course, I actually, what I did in the end was I actually took them through why this is not going to work and what they could do in the future to better prepare themselves to deal with somebody like me or something like that in the future, because it was so bad. It was such a bad way of coming in, trying to sell me something without just coming back and making sure that they understood what my problems were and listen. Just hear me out. Let me talk. Just listen, connect, show empathy, a bit of warmth, and I'll talk to you about how to do that. And then all of a sudden, we'll probably be engaged. Then I'll be listening to what you're doing because you've allowed me to talk about something I'm interested in or I'm passionate about. This has to fit for somebody else. And you can't get away from what is in it for me, what's in it for you is going to be important in this. But generally, when you're looking at the human side, it is about rapport and emotion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was thinking back to when I work with suppliers and partners, what am I really looking for in them? And one of those things that I look for quite early is it's that understanding, can I work with this person? Can we work together to achieve something? And I guess when you're in that sort of in the role of CEO and you're looking for tech people to partner with, I'm guessing that's one thing that your antennae are quite tuned into.
Yeah, really. So, I mean, obviously, your technical skill, the thing that you're bringing and what you're an expert in, I'm going to talk about soft authority in a moment, is why you're in the room. You're in the room because I am not an expert in this field. I need that from you. And I need to know that when you put the thing together that you're putting together, it allows me to do what I want to do. That's obviously really important. So you have to have some empathy and understanding for what I'm trying to do and buy into my vision, my story, buy into what I'm trying to do, and then show me the steps, the strategy. Because what I'm after from you is the strategic way of doing it to make this operational, to develop it, and then also give me some other innovative and creative ideas to add to what I'm thinking about. All of a sudden, we're going to be in a pretty good place here, aren't we? But if you come in and just giving me this block of stuff, and I can't quite remember, I need it simplifying. So I'm a great believer in simplifying everything. I don't need to know the nuts and bolts and how many bits of X is going to be or Y or whatever. What I need to know is, will it do what I'm asking you to do and give me this platform, this mechanism? Are you able to bring these APIs in? Can you then segregate this into this particular data? Those are the key themes for me, and all the other magical things connect with what I need, and then we can go into that space later when we're really drilling down on the technical aspects of something. But that storytelling and connecting and having empathy and adapting your communication style. So I'm going to do a really broad brush approach here, just to give you an example. When we're with different groups, if I'm working with a lot of tech, a lot of engineers, a lot of scientists, my natural instinct is they'll be quite detailed and they'll be quite logical and analytical. That's my go-to straight away. I'm not saying it's all like that. Don't think that I think that just puts you in a box, because I'm not. But your start point, if you're in those fields, is generally in that space. I am the opposite. I am intuitive, and I'm looking at big picture stuff and bringing patterns together. That's my skill. And I'm also about harmony and people. I'm very competitive, so I do the T side and the logical bit quite well, but my start point is there. So it's generally the opposite. So when I'm working with that group, we'll talk about technical stuff, detail, and things like that to make sure you realize I do understand it. But what I needed to do is build this magical kingdom for me. What I want is this wonderful thing that I know I'll probably never get to, but I'm going to tell you what it looks like. So now I need you to engage with me on that and go, yeah, that's a really great idea. Thank you. I think this, look, have you thought about this? What about that? However, our MVP, which is what a group did to me the other day, and it was just brilliant because they went, love it. And they knew about me. They'd done, what was great is they'd researched me. They know where my passions are. They know what I'm thinking about. They came in, and what was good is they had all the data, the research that I needed to see in order to then come back and go, right, we can do that, but that's probably second, third stage iteration. However, this is what we're thinking about to start with. Let me give you this overview. So they connect to me, and then they come back and go, right, these are the stages it can come to. And now I understand that. That's what I've got. Again, I don't need the deep technical stuff yet. That'll come to when we come to tying down the specifications for moving forward. So now we're connected. Now they've explained it. Now I know what's in the art of the possible with my first stage and probably my second and third stage, to be honest. Yeah, this is a good conversation, because now we're in about long-term relationships, because now we're talking 3 to 5 years potentially with this. So again, great relationship building. They did it very well, and I engaged with them straight away. Their ethos, their ethics behind what they're trying to do, that met with mine. Now the skill is, even if they'd been very smart and looked at the play of that, it was still skillful. And I admired the skill. They're authentic. So don't get me wrong here. I knew they were authentic, and I knew because I'd done the same. So I'd gone back and done my due diligence to make sure I understood where they were. So now we're in a good partnership, and now we're moving at pace. So what's the skill here? What this gives you is trust, because they've delivered on what they said they were going to do. They've covered everything else. We've got a relationship. I now have confidence. Now, trust is not about like. Trust is not about like. It's to have confidence. I think they can deliver. And now, because we've thought, and this is again a great by, whose name will come to me in a minute. Think slow, act fast. Daniel Kahneman, I think. So Kahneman. So straight away, I've done a lot of thinking on this, but I want to act fast. So I'm about action, and now I can move fast because all the pieces are in place. So again, all these things just fit into a good negotiation.
Brilliant. So once you've really understood them and you know that they understand you, what other elements do you build into your preparation? Because again, I know that having spoken in the past, preparation's critical to executing well.
Right. Can you all see my slide, my deck at the moment? Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Let me just go through some quick ones for you, because this is important. I'm going to give you some science, And I'm going to go through what I do really quickly. And I go through and I just want to highlight some of the key things. Really powerful element of psychology on influencing people. Okay, there's a really good system. Cialdini does this, where it's a book called The Powers of Influence. Have a look at it. Really good on this, and he goes into a lot of detail. So the things are 6 principles that work across any culture. These principles are really clear: commitment, consistency, liking, ingratiation, authority, social proof, scarcity, reciprocity. Let's go through it. Commitment and consistency. This is about a bond, a marker, and it's when you write something down and when you commit. What I want to see is from trust building is that there's just consistency. When I come to you, everything you say, you do, you feel is the same thing, and you're authentic. And of course, words, beliefs, attitudes. If you deliver on the values, and I can see that's what happens in your behaviors, I'm probably going to like this. Now, the other key thing here is that when we agree to do something and we deliver and we write it down, which is why we do signatures and things like that, it's a really good agreement. It is really powerful. And again, it's a public mark. I will do this for you. Really, really powerful. So that's important. Liking and ingratiation. Now, what's really important, and this is an interesting one, and it's can be sometimes fair, it might not be fair. If you are attractive, if you have some kind of, you're going to have an edge, right? So whether it's fair or not, irrelevant, you're going to have an edge. It's just one of those things. However, it means that, look, I'm not going to say I fall into that category at all. So what I try to do it from is being a nice person and from making sure that I do all the right things. So that element as well of being a nice person, somebody you want to be around, also helps. It's a powerful way of liking somebody, and the more people we like, we tend to give them a bit more freedom. Again, really important. The power of mirroring, which is just when we see somebody doing something without trying to be a parrot or indeed making it ridiculous, just by following somebody's body language, and you'll see when people are in sync, their body language mirrors, and they won't even know they're doing it. I could give you loads of reasons for why that's important. And of course, again, if I can't hit the physical appearance or attractiveness by dressing smartly or being in the right attire for the environment, making sure those things are in place, they all draw you to thinking, oh, that person looks okay. That's quite good. And again, liking and ingratiation is really important, and some great videos on this as well. And as I said, they hit the point. Authority, experts. This will only give you a certain amount of freedom, but of course it's great. Why do we like white coats? And why should the NHS go back to white coats? Because it gives them authority. Unfortunately, now they're all dressed in the same stuff. You can't differentiate between anybody. And so that's a bit of a downside, because when we see a white coat, or if you see something that says, police follow me, and somebody grabbed you and said, follow me, you're likely to go with them, because you're going to presume in this particular situation, you are the expert. So when somebody comes in and they tell me that they are the expert in this tech, and I ask them a question and they don't know the answer, then they may lose me slightly, because I'm presuming you are the expert and you know more than me. Soft authority, and just saying, actually, in this particular field, as Simon was introduced, he's a world-class expert in sports, and actually sports and business and beyond. I'm probably going to give Simon a good hour of listening, aren't I? Because I'm going to go with it. So he's got me for at least an hour, unless he goes off track. And again, dress, titles, trappings, house car, they play a part in how we look at somebody to start with. Social proof. And again, this is the classic thing of saying that people are similar to other people. I think this is quite an interesting one. And there's some great ones about the lift. I don't know if you've ever seen that on YouTube, where people go into a lift and one of the people will just turn the opposite. Other people are involved in it. They turn, the entire lift turns in a different way. And literally that experiment's just been done again. It's identical. And you just look and go, I would never do that. And actually, I sometimes think I would never do that. But again, you can't get away from the science and the facts. People like to be drawn to, all of these people are following this group. We're outperforming this group. We're in that space. We've now got X. It just is a very, very powerful way of doing it. Scarcity, again, value. If I can tell you, look, actually, you've only got this amount of time before I go and do something else, it's scarce, isn't it? I've only got a small period of time. What am I going to do? How does that work? And of course, when we start to look at freedom of choice and it's narrowing down, all of a sudden it becomes really important, doesn't it? When there's only one of these in the world or whatever it may be, and it could be actually nothing of any real consequence, but that scarce value really comes into play. And then reciprocity. This is the most important one of all to give. Now, I give my time, I do tons of pro bono work, not to be Machiavellian and think I'm going to get something back, because I like to do it for people anyway, but it comes back tenfold. Honestly, most of my work I get because people say, Floyd, somebody's passed this over. That advocacy comes from, again, giving and getting something back. And this is where actually you can exchange things. You do something, even when people don't particularly like you, if you know what they do like, and you go, you know what, I was just thinking the other day, I came across a yacht magazine, I came across this book, I know you're interested in it. They are obligated to you. It's a human dynamic, and it beats any of these things. It cuts through to the core of you, and you will want to pay that person back. It's really powerful. It's the same thing here when somebody says, if you get a sweet at the restaurant, does it affect what you're doing? You give a bigger tip. If they give you 2 sweets, you'll give a bigger tip. If they give you one, walk away and then come back, and the percentages are unbelievable. So you can't ever get away from the fact that these things can circumvent our natural abilities. So let's make this come alive. I'm going to show you this. Hopefully you can see Dermot. Dermot's on a dating site. Okay. What he's done is put this message out, and I'll let you read it. Obviously, you'll make a choice over what he's wanting and what he's after. If you were replying to Dermot, and it's irrelevant whether you are a male or female, what I want you to do is just think, if I was replying to Dermot and I want to hit the class R, that's consistency, that's liking, that's authority, that's about scarcity, that's about social proof and reciprocity. If you're looking at that and you say, I'm going to reply to Dermot in a way, what kind of things would you be looking at on this that you could say to him that would at least get him to click onto your profile? So what could you do? Just look at this statement here and think, right, if I was replying to Dermot, thinking about what could I give him, what could I reciprocate with Dermot? What can I say scarce about what I'm doing? What can I do? And remember, I want you to now, make this up. So my thoughts are, and as he said, he started off, I'm seeking a woman. So we know that for dating. What kind of age group do you think Dermot is looking for? What kind of age group do you think is looking for? What's your ballpark?
Well, I'd probably go 5 years or so either side of 43, judging by his profile there.
Right. Okay. So again, really interesting. I think he's looking for somebody that's on the younger side of, but I think your 5 years is right, but I think it's below him. That would be my guess. But if you're looking at it, how could you start that off? If you were going, Dear Dermot, my name is X, what name would you, thinking about the powers of influence, what name would you give her? What do you think? Do you think what country do you think she comes from?
An Irish name.
I was going to say she's
really
she's going to be a Mary somebody or a...
Right, great. So Siobhan, Mary, something was right. Great, love it. What type of job could she have? Thinking about liking and ingratiating, where we can go, oh, actually, that's interesting. What kind of job? Do you think she's a CEO, or do you think she's running something else? Give me a kind of job, a feel for what she could be doing.
Cooking, restaurant, something like that.
Right, so hospitality, restaurant, something in that area, maybe the fitness field as well. He likes fitness, athletic. So it could be, again, so I'm in the fitness field because something similar. I'm from Ireland. I'm also over here actually traveling. So a bit of scarcity, but I'm only over here for the next 2 weeks. So hopefully I'm back after that in months, but we could just say in 2 weeks, I've got to go away for 3 months. So again, we can remember we're trying to get him to click onto our page. So we can start to think, great. Now, reciprocity, it could be, actually, I understand about loads of bike routes within London. What I can do is show you some ones you've probably never seen before. So reciprocity, I'm going to give you something. I'm actually an expert in this because I went on and did this particular tour. I've done something else, or more importantly, do you know what? I'm a food critic, or I'm a journalist, or I'm something where there's something where I can get a bit of authority in here. Really important to start to think about what we can actually do to make people think about what that could look like. And all you're doing here, this particular one here is used with, so this is actually being used by people and informants to start to look at how do we get people to buy into other people. And of course, all you're doing is thinking about those key elements, which I think are really important when we're moving forward. So this is my first one, is can I influence? So when I meet somebody, it is about reciprocity. How can I help you? What can I do? I'm going to show my authority. This is who I am. This is what I've done. So I can get people to realize that I kind of understand about business and what I'm doing. I will dress in the appropriate attire for where I'm going. I'll know a lot about them and I'll be talking about them. So I'll come on to rapport in a minute.
Yeah. And like you said, when you are practiced in using this kind of thinking, I suspect you can visit these things quite easily in your mind, even if you haven't got a lot of time to prepare for this. But that only comes because you've done it time after time after time.
And this is it there, isn't it? Preparation and strategy. Prep. And don't fall into the trap of thinking I'll cuff it. It never works. And now when I do this with top sales teams, it's the same thing. They go, why? This is why we've fallen into the trap. They're supposed to be really good, but they've never prepped. They've never gone into this thinking, who's doing what? How do we talk? What do they want from this? How can we help them? Prep and strategy, I do it all the time, but I can do it quite quickly. And again, I'll come back to, I understand Class R really well. It takes me seconds to do it now. But I practice it. So again, practice. Again, this is where we go. Understand yourself, then others, then be understood. Your principles, tactical preparation, structure and strategy. How am I going to go about it? What am I trying to do? Who's talking? What's our walk away? All simple things that you're already. And also, when I'm doing this, what are they going to say back? I prep talk. I listen to them and think, what would I do if I was on the other side of this table? And I do it from an aggressive perspective, a nice perspective. I'm just prepping my mind for all the horrible things that could go wrong. But I'm also thinking it probably could go well. And that also helps.
Interesting. I know, I mean, you and I both do keynote speaking. Years and years ago, somebody said to me, you can tell the quality of a speaker not by their keynote, but by the Q&A. And you don't know what you're going to get asked within the Q&A, but it doesn't mean you can't think around it. What might I be asked? What might this audience be interested in? What you can probably predict half, 2/3 maybe of the kind of questions that you'd get back. And therefore you can put yourself, not necessarily word for word practiced answer, but you can put yourself in that space and allow your mind to just explore that a little bit so that you don't go in completely underprepared.
Oh, Simon, I do contingency planning. Honestly, there's not one thing I don't do where I'm running through contingency after contingency after contingency. And then what I've done is, even if it's something I've not thought of before, 5 of my contingencies will have touched this. So I'll still be able to drag something from somewhere because I've just gone through that element of going, right, that's what I want to happen. This is the plan. What could potentially go wrong? Where am I going to get the difficult questions? And now I would say the same as you, is that in my keynotes now, it is rare I get something that just completely like, oh, that's a brilliant question, I need to come back, because I can work my way around it. And again, but I prep it as well. So stresses, what stresses me? Where do I have prejudice as well? Again, really important on this. I'll give you an example on a prejudice that I had on. We had a team coming into the tech team, and they brought in, I've got a foreign exchange card and a multi-currency card platform. They brought in the new cards that we were going to send out, and they brought in this coloured card that they'd done a ton of. I mean, they spent a lot of money doing the prep and stuff, and of course, I didn't like it. I did not like it at all. So I was already into a flip. I was already thinking that was a complete waste of a lot of money. What was great was, so I had a prejudice. What was great about this team is they went, Floyd, we know you're not going to like this colour straight away, but now, and then what they did, which was brilliant, they gave me the research. They took through what they'd done, the different, that demographic, all the other elements, but I thought it was the best card. And it's that classic thing of just understanding before you go in what I've got to be aware, and also what stresses me. Okay.
Yeah.
So knowing yourself.
I was going to say, knowing your audience is critical there.
It is the most important thing. Again, remember, what you're trying to do is get engagement to be successful. You are dealing with people. You're dealing with human beings. You have got to connect and understand them, and again, adapt around where they are. Doesn't mean you're not going to be pushy. Doesn't mean you're not going to go, I don't agree, but don't do it from the first second you meet them. You've got to build that. And the classic key thing is, have I earned the right to ask that question? Again, be clear on what good looks like for your interaction. That's, again, really what's good from it. I don't think it's going to be a perfect one, but good kind of looks like this. And generally, all I want is a second meeting.
Yeah.
Honestly, first up, I just want another meeting. I want you to realize that this is worth going down that line. And do not try and sell unless there's some wondrous stars align. Again, knowing yourself, man. Steve Peters does this. I'm not. I put this up just because it's an easy way to explain it. Of when we get upset or cross in a meeting, the key thing is just realize that this is your amygdala coming alive. You're a bit cross. How can I just calm myself down to still connect if you're getting a real rough time? Because again, sometimes people are just testing you and just trying things out. Just hold the line on what you believe. Really important.
And going back to what we said about practicing this stuff, we tend to get sort of thrown off course because we're not really prepared for what might come. And when people feel under pressure, when people start to get anxious in situations, often it's because they're not really prepared for what might come. And if you've got that solid platform, you're far more confident that whatever comes your way, you can probably find a way to deal with it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And again, for me, this again comes back down to my foundation stones, my platform. What I'm trying to do is solid. So straight away, we're looking at it from this perspective. My prep is always going to be this. And the behavioral change stairway is really, really important, because what I'm looking at is, can I close the deal? So powers of influence are good. I've done my research. I understand the person, the team, the organization, where they want to go, what their super Northstar looks like. What am I trying to get from it? And I remember I prepped this with my team as well. I never do this in isolation. So I'm going through, what does this sound like? What does it look like? And that initial contact, your pre-engagement preparation, first impressions and opening lines are utterly vital. So, and because what happens when you walk in, the minute you walk in, within milliseconds, they've already made a decision about you, which could be remarkably unfair. Do I like this person? Background, intellect, musical tastes, education. You just randomly do this stuff in your head because it's important, because there's a kind of threat to it. So therefore, what's happening? Let me give you an example of why that's true. And you can put this into the chat box as well. I'm probably going to give some of this away, but let's just look at it this way. What I want you to write in the chat box, I'm just ask you a couple of questions, and I just want you to write in what you think. What car do you think I drive? You've got a bit of an outline, but what car do you think I drive? What paper do I read? What paper do you think I read? Am I married? If I'm married, how many children do I have?
Never seen the chat go so quick.
Do I speak a foreign language? How many? What was the highest level qualification I left school with?
That's left school with not hold now.
Left school, not hold now. Left school. What type of leader, if I came in tomorrow morning and took over your organization, what type of leader do you think I would be?
I'm watching the chat. Nobody's put ball buster yet.
Great. Now, the key thing is, whether you are right or wrong, it doesn't make any difference. because that's what you came up with. So I've got to go in there thinking that's what you're going to do. So what impression do I want to make? So if it's a classic, I'm going to the stock exchange next Monday, I won't be dressed like I'm dressed now. So just as an example, I'm going to adjust to what I know I need. I'll have gone through my prep with my partner because we're going to get drilled on a lot of things. And I will be going through a big preparation. I'll go back over all the organizational things we do. We will play this off. What happens if who's taking that question? If we get taken here, where are we going with it? So, and we're going to go through all of those elements. So we've covered everything, and we will do that. Opening lines, great. Who's opening first? How are we going to start that off? Who wants to tell the story? So we're not fighting, and we go through all of this, and then at the highest levels, I'm going to get somebody to come in. What does this sound like? If I said this, how would that make you feel? What would you be thinking? And I get them to play hard line or be nice. I always want the hard line. So I'll give you an example here. I worked with a group of senior executives who were about to do a big negotiation. And I said, I'm going to play the part of the opposition. Very, very, and they knew it was going to be difficult, but they came in, sat down, and of course they started off in a really nice way. And I ripped right into them. And I was really aggressive. And I called them everything under the sun. And of course, it just shook them all and they went silent. And I went, well, that's not going to be very helpful on the day, is it? I said, but let's put it this way. It's not going to be as bad as that, is it? But now let's take through. If that did happen, why does anything you were going to say change? I said, I've just been silly, haven't I? I've just been a bit of a dick. So therefore, and we know that's what's probably going to happen. So therefore, why would not go through it? And of course, they went, oh, I see. I went, great. So now let's relax. Let's go through it in a slightly different way, but be prepared. If you go off track now, I'll really rip into you. So again, all of a sudden, now they're on point. Now they're thinking, and of course, they went through the negotiation when it was the easiest thing they've ever done, because I take them to a place they've never been before. So again, they've had to deal with all these stresses and all these difficult elements before they even get in the room. Right, understanding empathy and rapport, the development of relationship, connection. You've got to build a relationship. I can't say this enough, and I probably say it honestly twice or three times a week to people. If you don't get to this, it's going to be just a transactional relationship. What I want to do is think, I like long-term relationships. I'm about partnerships. I'm about development. It's massively important to me. Therefore, I work really hard here. And I'm more happy. There's been sometimes I've not closed a deal for 18 months to 2 years. But once a deal closes, it's usually massive. Because by that stage, it's like everybody's really, really comfortable. And I don't mind waiting. And I often say to people, look, I'll do a phone call, a meeting. It may not go as I want, but I know that will come back further down the line because I'll be authentic. I'll have connected. I've made sure that I'm thinking about where they are. Really important. And I'm going to take you back to a particular situation. In 2005, I was an operations officer for 22 SES. I was responsible for operations around the world. I was called into London for the 7/7 and the 21/7 bombings. I was what was known as a military gold commander. I saw super talented teams doing the best they could, but they weren't operating at their best. We weren't quite connected. I took over as the head of the counter-terrorism wing in 2006, and then I decided I needed to change the way we do things. I have no authority to do this. No authority. So I've got to influence without that authority. I've got to connect. The police run operations in the UK, quite rightly. We are there to support them. But the police don't trust the military. The intelligence services don't trust the police or the military, and the government don't trust anybody. So now we're in a bit of a difficult position, aren't we? But my super North Star is clear. I am going to transform the way we do counter-terrorist operations in the United Kingdom. I am going to connect everybody up. I'm super clear. Straight away, though, with big super North Stars, I'm told it will never happen, Floyd. And that's from my own team going, they'll never change, Floyd. Well, they'll never do this. And I went, right, let's try and do this way. My plan was to engage with somebody I know was similar to me and wants to change. Brilliant Assistant Chief Constable in West Yorkshire, John Sampson. Brilliant. Knows the police have got to do something different. Because my viewpoint was, and this was my give, I do not want the Special Air Service to be used in the United Kingdom because if we're used, people are dying. I want you to be better at what you do. I want to help you mean that we don't have to come in. So I'm already mitigating us coming in, why they may not want to use us, and all those reasons. But we need to connect and coordinate. So if we come in, we're in the best space. More importantly, I can help your teams be better. And remember, you won't get away with this again. So again, a bit of scarcity, bit of threat, bit of authority, reciprocity. I'm giving you some stuff. Commitment and consistency. I'll be with this right the way through the end. We like each other. I've got all the influencing skills squared away. More importantly, I've got a really good plan, and it's all about what you want to do. I will help you. Obviously, I'm going to get everything I need from it. I'm going to get the relationship, make sure the transition between elements is in place. But I spend time here gaining trust from all these different groups, a relationship, taking them out, talking about why I think it's important. And then I got to trust because we were confident in what we were doing. It normally takes 2 years to do a national exercise. We did it in 6 weeks.
Brilliant.
And it was way beyond what they've ever done before because we delivered together. So that to me was all about negotiating and connecting and following the sequence I've gone through. So once we'd had that trust and that mutual reliability, we did loads of other stuff together, and other people then came in because we solved the problem in partnership. Influence, persuasion, all of those elements come from that relationship and rapport, cognitive diversity. Let's work together to make it the best plan, be creative. Now we've got buy-in, we get behavioral change, we're likely to commit to big things now. This is underpinned with authentic listening. Now, authentic listening, and I can't say it enough, is our ability to stop talking and to listen to what somebody's saying. And when you're in these meetings, when you're going forward, make sure you are connecting, offering up the questions and thinking, right, how do we take this forward? And let them talk. And now we're into how do we do that? What are we looking for? There's a number of different things we can use. I'm just going to touch on that now. Simon, have you got anything you want to say on this at all?
I think there's one thing that you said earlier, actually, that I've got a funny feeling might have flown past people's ears, and they might not have really sort of captured the full power of this statement. And it was, have I earned the right to ask that question? And it's something I just wanted to touch back on, because that for me, in terms of like really powerful takeaways so far, that's a huge one.
Without a doubt. Honestly, it's something I keep coming back to. Have I earned the right to ask this question? And it plays in my mind all the time because I'm probably wanting to close the deal sometimes. I'm wanting to press. And just by saying, you go, no, you haven't. Because if you don't, if it's not, the answer's not an instant yes, get it in and do it and close the deal. Now, this is not about hovering around and leaving it because it's a scary question. It's just making sure, have we got everything in place? And then you can look at the steps. We need to get that to a closure, not about dithering, but just make sure you've earned it in the right space.
Yeah.
If I said, who taught you to listen, what would you say? What would you say? Who taught you to listen?
Parents.
Some people go parents, but they didn't, did they? They taught you how to speak. You get praise for being how to speak. How often do they say, right, just listen, just listen? We don't. We say the person's speaking, talking. You get prizes for standing up and being confident, don't you? But the power to listen is really important. And our listening ability, ability and cognition speeds is really good. So we can think, we can listen to people. The thing is about it, no matter how fast somebody speaks, I am way ahead because I'm already in front on. So when somebody speaks to you, you're already thinking, oh, I know this is going, I could answer this, I could go on. So sometimes we're already thinking about what we want to do differently. So therefore, the key comes in is to make sure that we understand what somebody's saying and we're listening. So read that statement for me. Read the statement. What happens next? What happens next?
Well, we went down a dead end street, blind alley somewhere through a dodgy bit of the city. I got scared.
Because again, our mind fills gaps, doesn't it? So what's missing from it, again, is some context and things, but what we've got to be careful of is our assumptions. And of course, if you're in certain countries, I can assure you the first thing people would have said is that was a bad situation. So that situation did not go well for the person that was there. And of course, some of you will have thought, again, I'm just going to presume that you are thinking, yeah, that did not go well for that particular person. So what am I looking for now? And I'll give you some other things here. Focus listening. Great Chinese symbol, which you'll see there. You'll have seen on loads of different things about what we're looking for. And you listen with these, not just your ears, your eyes, your undivided attention, and your heart. It's when somebody's engaging with you and you are fully active, you're looking at them, you're not looking around to see who's the better person in the room. You are engaged with them. You're looking at their body language. We can mirror that if I need to. But my heart, what am I listening to? I'm listening to the words, the emphasis, the vagueness, the body language. I'm going to straight away, I'm just being comfortable. I'm a bit cold in my car. But actually, if I started doing this, so if I see you're going or shaking your head or tutting or doing anything, whether that means something or not, it means something to me, means I'm slightly off track. If somebody just turns away and does that, I can assure you when you're speaking, you'll stop dead. There's a great exercise where we get somebody to engage and talk and they get them on. And I pretend to be excited. And then halfway through, I just do that. Tell you the person will stop dead. They'll just because it's just not right, is it? You just know intuitively you've lost my attention, and that was rude and impolite and just wrong. And therefore, it's those things that can happen. But constantly, if we've created the right environment and all those things are in place, I'm creating the things I need to connect. And then we look at some simple things.
So one of the big myths is that negotiations are about pitching, and I think what we've done so far is sort of flip that on its head and say no, it's really not about pitching, it's about understanding. I want to flip the conversation open and open the room up so that the guys get a chance to ask their questions in a minute. But yeah, if you can just share this last piece with us and then we can open up, that'll be fantastic.
No, well done, Simon, because I'm straying off. It's a subject I love, so I'm going to blast through this as well, if I may. More pies. And again, I'll send this through to you anyway, so you've got it. What are the key things that minimal encourager? So when you're listening, those simple things like a nod, great, yeah, I understand. All those things are important. It allows you to keep talking. I'm encouraging you to talk because you'll see, I'll just a little nod. Excellent, thank you. Yeah, good. Just all those little things, open-ended questions. We know what they are, who, where, what, when. That really powerful. Avoid why.
Yeah.
Reflection. Again, reflecting on what somebody said, reflecting words back, echoing them are really important. I'm really disheartened. So by just saying the word, I'll get you to go even deeper. Again, that's sort of the same for emotionally labeling the words that are there. Paraphrasing quickly. I think you've just said this again to show you're listening and you've also captured what they've just said. And I'll go through iMessage and effective silence now because I'll just go through these quickly. So this is what it means. So minimal encouragers means that it's small prompts that mean you're definitely in the game. And you can see from Boris the kind of things we're talking about there. You're encouraging them to carry on speaking. Open questions. So you're not just getting a yes or no. Again, really good. I'm interested to hear more about what you're encouraging the storytelling. Reflection, playing them back, the energy words, the hook that's just been said. You're passionate about that. So passion's the hook, isn't it? Please tell me more. Again, really important. Again, my encourage is about please tell me more.
Yeah.
Energy, not emotion.
Yeah. And actually genuine curiosity allows us to ask those great questions. And
now this is really important about labeling. When you go, you sound hurt, and then you pause, they'll tell you if it's right or not. No, I'm not hurt, I'm frustrated. So within 2 minutes, I've just said 2 words, but you're all now, I'm really frustrated because they'll be frustrated about something. I'll get everything. Really powerful one. I really, that's what you sound. You look, sound, it seems. Come on to seems in a minute. Again, paraphrasing, repeating back so they know what you've told me is this. It just means that you're listening. I messages. Right. It seems to me I sense that this is a really good one I use all the time. I sense that I've missed the point, or I use this all the time. I love the word I sense because I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just sensing something. Complex could be, it seems to me that when you are really angry, I may miss something. I may miss something. What I'm hoping for is, could you just slow down so that I don't miss anything? Because that's really important to me, what you're saying. Again, you're just really getting something across, quite a complex way of doing it. But again, it's powerful because I'm cutting through your anger within a very clever bit of word language. This is the most powerful one that I use all the time. So tell me how it's going. Tell me how everything's going. And I'll never speak again until I'll make this the most uncomfortable silence in the world.
Yeah.
But I can tell you now, tell me how you think it's going is one of the most powerful things, especially when I want somebody to talk about they've made a mistake. Really, really powerful. And then finally, summarize, full synopsis, very helpful to make sure you understand and they understand you've been listening and we're really clear on what we've agreed to do. So those are some of the key constructs that I would definitely be using. Over to you.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Well, I'd love to open the room up because I'm sure you guys have got loads of questions. Very, very quickly, Steve, have you got any quick thoughts, observations?
I do have a thought and observation, really interesting, but I almost don't want to ask it because it could be open-ended, and I want to make sure that the guys have a chance to speak. But I'll throw it in, and if you think it's going to be a big answer, Floyd, then we can move on. Negotiation is clearly a complex sort of subject, and it kind of plays into some of the stuff that I've been trying to lean into recently around public speaking. And I find lots of public speaking courses, for example, focus on verbal delivery, not using ums and ahs, which I'm terrible at. But this brings a totally new perspective. It just resonated that actually, if you spend your time thinking about your audience and understanding what their values are and their beliefs, probably you can get away with a few ums and ahs, because actually your energy, if you like, is in the right sort of place. The reason why I'm saying that is that in my experience as a tech leader, oftentimes I've struggled to influence like a CEO or a non-technical leader in the right kind of way to kind of achieve what I'm trying to achieve. And I just wondered if you could give an example from your perspective of when maybe a tech leader in your world has maybe got it right for you. I find that modeling might help me to kind of understand maybe where I'm going wrong.
Right. Okay. So the key theme here, and I'll give you one because it's just happened really, is that I had a tech leader that came in that what they'd done is they'd done their research on me. What they were doing, they were connecting to me as a person on what my needs were. They'd listened to the brief that they'd been given to come in to and talk. And what they came in, they didn't give me any technical stuff at all. They spoke about the store. Again, you've done your storytelling. They spoke to me about, look, this is what we think. First of all, we understand that you are passionate about health and well-being in the United Kingdom, that you want to transform the way people move. You want to do an app that's simple to understand, that gives access to these health and well-being elements you want to do, and that we think that you are looking to do this to connect, to make sure you've got a community. They just told me the story about what I wanted to. So all you're doing is replaying the story the CEO wants to hear, first of all. First of all, can you do what you're saying? Now, the fact that there's still some complexity behind this, what they're doing is summarizing generally. Can I just make sure we're on the same page? You're on the same page with me. You've got my story. You know I'm passionate, and then you're listening to what I'm saying. And then what's good is then I want you to come and go, right, what is great about it is that we are able to create the model that you need. And we've got systems in place where we can connect to all the APIs. We've done this before. We've got proven experience and authority. This is what it looks like. And then what we'd like to do is make sure, and this was really powerful, what we'd like to do is just make sure, what we also do is make sure that we're not all off track and you're not off track. We would need to speak to users. We want to speak to them about their story, what they need from it. We know exactly what you need, but we want to do a really good outreach to your customers to find out, is this exactly what they need? I just went absolutely spot on. Because again, far too often what a CEO thinks they need is nowhere near what the customer needs. And what they came back with was some really good ones going, yeah, sometimes, and we've had this before, where a person has a great idea, it's phenomenal, and then of course the consumer doesn't want anything to do with it. What a waste of time that would be. However, if we did this, it allows us all to make sure that discovery period is good and clear. And more importantly, they then hit it on timelines. We do that in 2 weeks. Next stage is 4 weeks of that. Next stage is 6 weeks of that. I can guarantee you an MVP in 12 weeks.
Interesting. It just really sounded to me like what you were saying there was, as a tech leader trying to influence the CEO, it's not about what he or she wants, it's about what the customer really wants. That's really what the CEO is really going to be focused on, right?
Right. So this is really important. So I'll just touch on this quickly if I may, because it might help you all. Again, key things is what is it? So first of all, Super North Stars, when a company says I want to do Super North Star, great. What is the customer going to do to get there? So what does your customer need to make sure you get to your Super North Star? What drives the customer? So always have that in your figure. So first of all, you want a customer to pay on time, to be an advocate. You want them to be transparent. You want them to be a long-term customer, all those things. What drives them is customer service, quality product, efficiency, the fact that you're honest and transparent, that you know the Super North Star. So that's going to drive it. I'm going to be able to produce tech that will allow that to happen. So I'm showing you that with this will drive a customer to be an advocate, to understand the quality, to connect, to communicate. I'm going to show you why I'm going to get to your Super North Star, because this stuff does that. So now I've shown you how you can be a multi-billion project company because you've got 20 billion. Well, I'll help you get there because I'll make sure these customers stay because of what I'm designing here. Can you see how I connect into it? I'm connecting into that. Oh, by the way, I've got this smart little project, but come in and tell me I've got a really brilliant project that's this, this, and this. And I go, what does that mean? Where does that help me? What I want is give me the stuff that makes it take me to the next level.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Knowing that we are quite short on time here, has anybody else got any questions that they'd love to throw in today? We've probably got time for maybe one. So if you'd like to be, if you'd like to have the honour of having today's question, because I think there will be only one, stick your either physical or digital hand in the air and hop in. Do you think I put too much pressure on it now by saying that? There we go. Phil.
Yeah, in all of this, you haven't talked about resistance, so I was wondering what your perspective is on that. You know, resistance to change, for example. Yeah.
Yeah, no, resistance to change. The thing about it is that if you've got some of this resistance to change, what I'd always come back to is, again, I've got to see something from their perspective, his or her perspective, or their perspective. What is it that's the resistance to change? Why are we still, and what is it looking like now? Because this is really important, because sometimes, actually, this might not be the organization for me. So again, it's the same as any negotiation. What's my walk away? When is this not going to work? But what I'm then doing is looking at influencing other people. If I can't influence the CEO or the decision maker, what I will have done beforehand, because I'll know this before I go in. I know if a CEO is going to be hardline, stuck in a different century, I would have done all that prep beforehand, to be honest. And therefore, I'm not probably going to go to them straight away. I will look at the people beneath them that are influential in that person's life. And then what I'm looking at to do is make sure I'm getting my message in to some other people, again, to do the prep before I go in. Now, if somebody's resistant to change, what I will be doing is going, and again, I'd look at all the market share, what everybody else is doing. If we're not careful, so I'm now going to scarcity, and we don't adapt, I'll throw this one in, is it's likely people will surpass us. It's likely that this particular product will go elsewhere. Now, loss, and this is a powerful one, strangely enough, I find it very sad, but one of the best ways to influence people is by what they will lose if they don't do it. It's not the positives half the time, but if I said to you, you could lose potentially £1 billion project here, and our opposition, I think, will probably be developing this as well. I just want to make sure you're aware of that. So that resistance, I'll go, right, well, okay, you're going to just be aware there's a consequence for it. Because the minute we go consequence time, just watch what that also does. So I'm just putting that across to make sure you are aware that this is a potential for a miss or a loss for us. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I'll leave a big heavy walk with that one, because that's now down to you. So those things just allow it, but always make sure you know the person before you go in. If I'm getting a resistance to change, all I'm thinking about, I've not prepped my story well enough. I've not done this as a good selling. So come back to where are they are, but it's me. I would definitely be coming, I've missed a trick here. I haven't sold myself.
And actually, going back to sort of preparing this in your own mind, understanding that there is probably an opportunity if we do change. There's equally a risk if we don't change, and having those, clear in our minds as to what they are really help if we need to bring those out in a discussion, because we've already
you've also
thought our
thought it
way.
through, Simon. Yeah. I mean, don't miss all the dangers and risks. Just also say, look, there's a danger here of this, because it just means you haven't just, I've just got blue sky thinking all the time. You've gone through contingencies to mitigate them as well, or some of the risks you may think are X. However, I've already gone through it. So again, thinking about what they're likely to come back with and where they may see risks, you should have seen that beforehand. I mean, this is where, again, this is one thing I'm going to say to you as well, is don't step away from thinking, put yourself in a number one's shoes. So a CEO, this is really important. As a number 2, 3, 4, you can make the best decisions in the world and go, I do this, I do that. But you can't do that, can you? Because it's not your final decision. But when you're putting 500, I'll give you an example. I'm waiting for somebody to put £500,000 on a particular thing. That's a big call now. We've done all the talk and everything's going well.
Yeah.
But now they've signed the bottom line and put £500,000 across, then it's a bigger call, isn't it? Now I've got to go, bloody hell, actually, did I really need? So you've got to realize their position and how I can just eke them over the line to get there.
Yeah.
But I need to see it and think, yeah, they've got a right to be a bit resistant. The market, I might want to save more, want to this or do that. So problems, not just you. You are not the biggest problem in their life. Generally, they've got loads of things. So take that into account when you're doing it, and just make sure you're aware of where they are. I understand where you are, that we're in difficult times, but I think this is a game changer. I'm looking at how I can influence that.
Yeah, super, brilliant. We have hit the buffer at the end of the tracks there. Floyd, thank you very, very much indeed. There was so much in that session to take away. Steve, back to you, sir.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Floyd. I'm going to keep this very, very quick. Floyd, that was brilliant, jam-packed with information. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to quickly move on to the next session for the guys so they can get back to their worlds. Next Friday, the 16th of February, we're welcoming back Chris Cook, former Olympian. He returns to the Curious Mindset. We're going to talk about 2 links to the pool. Cannot wait. For me personally, he was the first guest speaker on my first ever Curious Mindset, so I'm personally really excited about that. Thanks again, Floyd. Thanks again, Simon. Thanks again to Bandish and the 64 Tech team, and thanks to all of you for turning up. Have a great afternoon, have a great weekend, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.